Welcome to the Powered by Age-Friendly City Zoomcast reality-style podcast.
We are movers and shakers, shaking up the old notion of silent, helpless, invisible seniors.
This is a new series of podcasts funded by the City of Vancouver and the 411 Senior Center Society.
As PBA AFC ambassadors, we
raise awareness,
share our original stories and poems,
inform, advocate, and involve seniors in discussing important social issues.
In short, these podcasts will help us,
you, in creating an age-friendly city for Vancouver today,
tomorrow the world.
You can hear us everywhere podcasts are heard. So I'll start over and say welcome to the Thursday meeting of the Powered by Age-Friendly City podcasters. We are exploring, we're doing a reality show here. We're exploring what we can do with communicating and having our meeting via Zoom. And we're also exploring ways that we will help others. We have 44 people that had signed up to be a part of the podcast program. We know about 80% of people don't use the internet. Some people use their phones. It's a very painful process trying to walk somebody over the phone to use it. But I'm going to ask each of you, as you know, other people from the organizations that you joined or were recruited through, to let them know and to send me their email address so we can invite them to future meetings. So we're going to start over with just briefly introducing each other. This program is a program that was funded by the City of Vancouver and the 411 Senior Center. It is intended that we will change the way people perceive, the perception people have of older people, and even to come up with another name, because at all 5 places, people didn't want to be called senior, older, golden, or any of those things. So maybe through our podcast, we'll emerge at what we do want to be called. So again, we'll start again. Neil, would you just briefly introduce yourself?
Well, I'm a writer. I have made my living all my life, at least as an adult. When I finally got around to being an adult, is that I started writing documents for businesses, and I did that for 60 years or so. And my current effort is this book. It's called From the Other Side. It's a book of poetry and short stories. And I absolutely love the fact that the only gift that I know that I have is that I know how to use words. And it's a joy of my life. So I'm going to be more than pleased to share at least a couple poems.
Okay, that's one of the things we're doing today. I'm Charlotte Farrell, I'll say, that each of us will have something to share or even give comments to other people. Joel, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Joel, and I'm one of the founders of PodStream, which we've been partnered with 411 Senior Center for the last while, and getting this up and running with the first season of the Powered by Age podcast that came out last year. And we were just about to start season 2 when things went a little sideways, and but we're, I guess, making good use of the opportunity to get people caught up on these types of applications of video conferencing and podcasting and recording. I've been away on a work project for the last month, so Luke's been, I see, taking hold of things and seems to be running a tight ship. So I'm just back to see what's going on and recalibrate myself to what's going on in Vancouver.
Sylvie?
That's it.
Well, I'm Sylvie Anderson, ex-paralegal, ex-entrepreneur, ex-ESL teacher, and current Cub podcaster. That's my job for right now.
Well, you bring all those things to the table, so they're reactivated.
Yeah, eclectic background.
Yes. Chris?
Hi, I'm Chris, and I'm with Quirky, the Queer Imaging and Writing Collective for Elders. I apologize for missing the last couple, but I've been Zoomed I was going to say, well, I've been Zoomed a lot. And so sometimes the timing conflicts. So today I didn't have another Zoom at this time. So room to fit one more in. I have probably at least 2 a day that keep me busy. Yes. So as I said, I belong to Quirky. We've been around for how many years, Pat? 14 years. Pat, you need to unmute yourself. We've been around for
13 years, 13, 14, yeah.
13, 14 years. And we're a group of older members of the LGBT community that meet at Britannia Center. Under normal conditions, we meet once a week. And now we're Zooming once a week. So that's been my experience. I've never really thought very much about being a writer, but since in the job I had, I was the one who actually brought this group together. And so that was 13, 14 years ago, and I'm still here learning how to write.
Wonderful. Leslie?
Yes, I have actually a similar background to Sylvie. I worked in offices for years. I was a recording secretary for a variety of nonprofits. Went back to college, got an English degree and ESL teaching certificate, and I've been teaching ESL. I actually still teach ESL online, so that actually hasn't changed during COVID. I'm still doing that. I met Neil at Poetic Justice in New Westminster. So, I write a variety of stuff, poetry, short stories. While I've been here at home with extra time, I've been working on a few different projects. One of the projects is actually putting together memoirs of a month I spent in Japan many years ago. And I have a lot of really neat stories coming out of that. So I'm trying to get an ebook together. So that's one of my projects. Okay, that's me. Nice to meet you all.
That connects into a goal that we have down the road of making an audiobook. So, Marika?
Hi.
Yes.
Nice to meet you. So, and I am a program coordinator at 411 Senior Center, and I joined the first meeting 2 weeks ago, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much, Charlotte, for arranging this meeting. And also, I am very interested in Zoom, so it is the first time for me to join activities on Zoom. And it is quite an opportunity for people, especially right now, and we have to be at home. So I'm thinking of other possibilities of other programs on Zoom. And for example, it is so wonderful, and already some activities started spontaneously, like book club and this podcast, and also Spanish classes, and they already started on Zoom. So, and I'd like to learn about more about technologies and which can be applied for other programs too. And I was so surprised to hear that already 44 people have registered for this podcast, and which is so wonderful and amazing. Thank you very much.
Okay, and say your name again so everyone will know you.
Thank you. My name is Mariko.
Okay.
Mariko.
It's Mariko, a Japanese name. Thank you.
Adele?
Hi, I'm Adele. Nice to meet you all. I guess we're considering to call myself a writer. I've been a poet for many years. I mean, I'm quite young, but I've been writing since I was 8. Words are what come easily to me, except right now, because I kind of got put on the spot, so I'm like, wait, what? So I'm a filmmaker. I make documentaries, and I'm branching out to do more work in that area, and I'm just pitching away, and I just got involved with this through Sister C, Charlotte. We co-host a radio show together, and so this is how I got introduced to the group. So my background is in digital marketing. And so I've been on the internet for most of my life. So this is kind of regular outside of COVID. I'm kind of already here. So yeah, nice to meet you all.
Are you at SFU?
No, I'm not. I'm actually not a student. I'm already in the workforce. But I was in school, but I was modeling since I was 14 and just kind of stopped that career and moved into film. So I'm writing and producing. So I didn't go to school for that. So.
But the radio show is the SFU radio show? So?
Yeah, CSFJ,
CJSF. She's now my new co-host on the 10 o'clock Friday morning show I have. And we last week did the first show we're part live and part of recording from Zoom.
Yeah, nice. That's fun. Yeah, nice to meet you all.
You too.
Luke?
Hey, how's it going? My name's Luke. I think I've met most of everyone before, except for a couple faces. Yeah, I work with Joel and Podstream and 411, kind of behind the scenes, putting a lot of things together. So yeah, I'm here as mostly a technical resource, but I also enjoy listening to what everyone has to say.
And
except for me, he's tired of listening to me.
I've heard enough of you, that's for sure. I'm going to put you on mute right now.
Now you're you're more than 6 feet apart. So
I can like reach down and grab him there.
Hi, Pat.
Oh, hi. My apologies for being a little bit late. I didn't realize it, but I had a Zoom meeting. Well, it was a Zoom youth class over with Sarah McLaughlin School. So, but I think the date's going to change. I mean, that date is going to change, so it won't interfere with this. So I'm with Quirky, as Chris said, and right from the very start. And we used to meet down at the 411, down on at 411, whatever that street was. And shortly after Chris got the writing group going, Claire Robson joined us and was with us for 10 or 11 years and really gave us a lot of skills in writing and so on. And we did a lot of stuff. We are doing a lot of stuff, but everything from plays to poetry and working with a youth group out in Surrey, which we still are. And we've done presentations with them and wrote with them and continue to be active with them. And we just published our last our 7th anthology, and when you just saw me leave for a minute, I went over and just sold a book at the door a few minutes ago.
Nice.
And they are available for sale, and I can send you the information. I think I was going to do that, Charlotte, or maybe you have it. It's called Together We Stand, and it's people's individual stories, which some may have to do with the LGBT communities, others is just about different parts of our lives. So, and my life has been mainly around organizing, political organizing, working in the women's community. When I came up from the States in '69, it was a good time to get grants, and so I was up in Vernon in the '70s and set up a advocacy group for women, and then we started a transition house and did a lot of work there, and then came back down to Vancouver and worked in the Women's Health Collective and so on. Had a radio show with others at Co-op Radio. So that's a little bit about me. Yeah.
Lots of skills on board. Welcome, Gail. Introduce yourself.
Hi. How late am I? I had a heck of a time getting on.
You're just in time.
To start?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yay, I don't feel so bad. Yeah, so I'm Gail Harwood. I've done a podcast already. I have to, because of the really nice criticism from the readers. Yeah. Oh, yeah. In fact, I've been thinking a lot about that, and I can calm down on some of the adjectives and some of the wording, and that's totally fine because you want a general audience. But I still maintain that with the way the art of conversation has to come back, and the trick is to have that middle line between good, deep conversation and understanding it and going to where people are and bringing them up. I taught for many years in the downtown east side. I taught adults for the school board. And my principal would say, "Oh, Gail, your standards are so high." And I said, "Look, just because people are poor doesn't mean they're stupid." So I meet them where they are and I bring them up and do a lot of scaffolding and a lot of information and a lot of translating street language into good standard English so that they can navigate society a heck of a lot better than they have been. So this has been my passion for many years. And this is why I kind of tend to write the way I do. And and I really invite people to calm me down and say, okay, think of another way of doing it. So thank you all.
Well, she's mentioning one of the ways that our program is functioning now. As people share things, we will have some periods of time that people can give feedback. And as we have resource specialists, Adele is one of the resource specialists, content consultants, Robin, who is another, and we might have a couple of other. But what we are doing is presenting. And as you said, some people think, oh, older people can't listen to things too long, but baby boomers are from a generation where we used to sit down either with our parent or grandparent and listen to 3 or 4 hours of shows on the radio. So we are breaking new grounds with communication. We're using some things that may be new art forms, and we're looking at, as Mariko said, Leslie is working with people on a provincial level where they want us to explore other ways of bringing activities through virtual media. At 411 Center, there were some programs that were suspended. And so we might have as a guest within our show and recording time, some people that play ukulele. We might be able to do the thing that some musicians are saying, are doing, where this corner, this corner, this corner, there are 3 people playing different things, but they're able to be in harmony. Mm-hmm. We might do something that we're going to have a little bit of a game today where Adele does a start a poem and it bounces back and forth where different people add a line to it. So we're going to have fun, but also bring forth new ways of remote communications, because it's expected that as this virus goes up and down, there'll be different periods where people will have to not be in contact with each other. So we're looking at ways to maintain the contact and not get burnt out on Zoom, but see how we can use this platform and other platforms, because as each of you, some have got different experiences, you could bring that to the table. So I think starting with, we invite each week people who have something that they want to share the next week to bring it forth as well. We had, when we did our first, I don't know whether that's reverse or backwards, but when we had our weekly meeting invitation, we said we're going to leap. We're going to learn new ways to make your voice heard. We're going to excite and educate others about seniors' issues and abilities. Activate your creative ideas as a podcaster. And P, promote services and programs that benefit seniors. And I'm going to ask Luke and Joel to help me with a way that maybe we could have something that rolls or something that pitches the different things as we get a list of each of your books or services, that could be something that at the end of the show we can have an announcement or tell people how to get in touch with or order your book, song, dance, movie, etc. So we'll start with Neil. You had a poem to share. And who else has a poem that you brought to the table to share today?
Yeah, I've got one too.
Okay, and Sheila. I'm sorry, Sylvie. Sylvie did an interview, and so she's going to show how successful it is to interview someone, because that was one of our goals. We would have roving reporters that would interview people. There's some people who want to interview centenarians, people who want to interview people in politics. So we'll get a chance to hear how her experience with recording an interview in her own one-on-one Zoom meeting went. So we'll start with Neil, and then we'll go over to Sylvie.
Charlotte, you had suggested a couple of poems, and I'm going to pull a switch on you, but I'll give you one of the ones that you asked that might be a good suggestion, and it's called "The Birthright." When I turned 75 years old, which is quite a while ago, I went to England for 6 months, and when I came back, I looked for what do I want to do with the second half of my life. And it came up that I wanted to write poetry, and the poetry that I write about is about life, about our emotions. And one of the ones that came out early on in the process was a poem called "A Birthright." I deserve to be healthy and live a happy life. I deserve to release all inherited shame and karma. I deserve to be loved and supported by the universe. Others deserve to be forgiven for trespasses against me, and I deserve to be forgiven for my trespasses against them. As well, I deserve to be forgiven for trespasses against myself. I deserve to have others to love. I deserve to be loved by others. I deserve to love myself. I deserve to live in abundance. I deserve to live in the Eden of my desire. I deserve to live a full and adventurous life. And why am I deserving of all these gifts? Because it is my birthright. It is the birthright of all humanity. And although I am nobody special, it is my birthright as well.
Well done.
Oh,
Nice.
Excellent.
amazing. Oh my goodness.
And as I said, I write a lot about emotions, so I'm going to switch to a poem that is called "The Melancholy of Wind-Blown Grass." The melancholy expression of wind-blown grass. In stillness, the hissing sadness emanating from the rain on the lake. The sorrowful beauty of moonlight through the trees. Nature arouses our emotion in 1,000 different ways. Something stirs from inside to remind us that we are feeling creatures. From ecstatic pleasure to heart-wrenching pain, according to our interpretation of the experience, with the emotions there to remind us that we exist. We all know the heartbreak of our wounded inner child. We all know the pain of 1,000 cuts, some big, some small. We all know the sadness of 1,000 goodbyes. And the fear-bearing feelings surprise chaos can create. All our experiences recorded as a part of our emotional world. Some blows are so severe, forgiveness is hard to find. But we deal with the sadness and the losses however we can, and then move on. We process the grieving for those gone from this life, and after the celebration for the dead, we party on. Emotion through emotion, we live these lives, from the pain of the negatives through the joys of the pinnacle. We carry on having life one experience at a time, with our emotions as our undeniable proof that we exist. Thank you.
Wow, so timely.
Very nice.
Okay, we have two people that might want to give just a brief comment to that poem, those poems.
Did it? I had a English professor tell me, "Hey, that was a good poem."
That was a great poem.
I liked the last one.
Great.
I liked the last one very much because you were starting to use imagery. And for me, poetry is emotional shorthand. And you think of Joni Mitchell's lyrics, right? And love came to my door with a sleep and roll and a headman soul. You thought for sure I'd seen him dancing up the river in the dark, looking for a woman to court and spark. It's just comes, and all the images. And then in Constant Stranger, clutching the night to you like a fig leaf, you hurry through the darkness to lay down your impressions and your loneliness. In the morning there are lovers in the streets. They look so high. You brush against a stranger. You both apologize. All friends seem indifferent. You must have brought that on. Old bonds are broken down. Love is gone. I really like the cut of 1,000 moons and 1,000. That is poetry. Good stuff. Keep on writing.
Thank you.
I was going to say that what I heard that was really good, it was sometimes how you paused for a second at some word or emphasized another word, and that really made things a lot more vivid. It was good reading. Yeah.
I'm learning that one.
Yeah. Well, I got feedback last week when I read here from Robin from CJSF, and that was really helpful to me too. Same thing.
There you go.
Adele?
No, sorry, one sec.
Oh, I thought you were making a comment. Okay. All right. So now, Sylvie, will you explain what you did and what we're going to hear?
I recorded this interview by Zoom, actually, over the weekend. It was my first attempt, and it had its ups and downs, as you will hear. But the person I interviewed is actually my cousin, and I chose her because she's had an amazingly interesting life. She's a little younger than me, but the other reason that I chose her, it was because I thought I'll feel comfortable with her. I've known her all of my life. So she worked in the oil and gas industry, and that's what we're talking about, is women working in sort of male-dominated industries and her experience of that. So that's what we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Sylvie, I'm interested to know what the upshot of the interview was. Is that what's her feelings about being and I used to do a lot of research in the oil patch, and I know it's a man's world.
Yeah, she has a very balanced take on it, and she's also very funny. So I would just prefer to leave it as a surprise for you.
Oh, okay.
And certainly, if we can fix this, when I was recording, for some reason, I got an echo when I was speaking, so I wasn't doing it properly. I have no clue what it was. Settings? I always think if I have a problem, is my settings? Is that what's the problem? Because I'm so knowledgeable about this stuff. So anyway, as Luke said, we're going to try and fix it, maybe re-record it and probably edit it. So we'll have a better quality product. Christine's part, and she was doing most of the talking, was fine. It recorded really well, but we'll figure it out for next time. If that's okay with you, Charlotte, I prefer to do it that way.
Yeah, that's fine, and it's a good learning for us because we're encouraging other people to interview people. There's someone who wants to interview grandparents, someone who wants to interview centenarians. Different people want to do interviews. So, what might have caused the echo with her mic?
It might have been. It possibly could have been that her speakers were set too loud as you were doing the recording, and it was causing an echo between your voice and the speakers. But I'm guessing.
possibly, Luke, because I watched a bunch of YouTube videos on how to before I got going with this. And they said, go into settings and, you know, do this and do that, which I didn't have that many options. My equipment is, you know, fairly standard and old. But I could have, you know, I could have screwed up that. So we'll take a look. I'll see if I can't do better.
Were you using your computer or?
I was using my computer, yes. I don't like using my phone because it's too small. I like to see what I'm doing.
Yeah, because the mic level that you have now is fine. So we didn't change our settings. Last week when Adele and I did the Zoom, we didn't change the settings in our computers. And so it was fine for the radio. The quality of the sound was fine. So.
A little more research is required. I'll look into it for next time. Okay.
Yeah. So
I don't want to give the game away. I don't want to tell you what she said.
Oh no, well, it gives us something to look forward to next week.
Yeah.
So I know that within Quirky, there were some people who said that they had stories that they were ready to share. Do you know if there are other people who have a story that they wanted to share? When we had the activity where we had our phones and people were getting used to using their phone as a recording device, someone read two people read stories. Do you know if they are going to share the stories within our podcast? Chris, it wasn't your story, but I can't remember.
Okay. What was it, River?
I think River was out of town. It was a story of a person's grief and sorrow with the extra insensitivity that was given to her upon the death of her spouse. And
that was me.
Okay.
That's my story.
Is it a story that you would be willing to read within one of our Thursday meetings?
Sure.
Yeah, it was very good. Okay, Adele, you want to do our poetry activity? Tell them what it is and how they can join in.
So we just pick a topic and somebody will start up the poem. So it'd be like, okay, we say isolation would be a topic. And then I would say, okay, I'm in isolation, running out of patience. And then I'd put something over to be like, okay, Charlotte, you pick it up.
Isolation is a pain. It's really a strain. I got to get out of this game. What about you, Leslie?
Isolation is time. Isolation is expansion. Isolation is having no direction.
Nice.
So tag somebody.
Tag Gail.
Isolation. From the self, through the self, to the self. Yogically inclined silence, blessed silence, yet need for touch, need for taste, need for warm arms around me.
Oh, nice. Take someone. You gotta take someone now. Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, I won't pick on Ardell. Who am I going to pick on? Pat, what do you got there?
Well, I don't know. Isolation, time to do nothing, time to catch up, time to think, reflect. Will I use the time well? Time.
Tag somebody.
Oh, it's not somebody. Okay. Chris.
I muted myself because my telephone was ringing, so I think it's finished. So this is actually a call from Britannia Seniors Group checking in with me this week. So, time or isolation. Isolation is a challenge. It brings out both positive and negative aspects of who I am. It's an opportunity to learn new things about myself and about others. Isolation creates new ways of being and new forms of friendship, new ways of being in touch with one another. Isolation is not necessarily a healthy thing, but Zoom is amazing and brings us together despite all of the challenges of distancing.
Were you going to tag?
Leslie.
Oh, I already did it once. Do you want me to go again?
Oh, did you? Sorry.
Yeah. I'll tag Neil.
Isolation. Well, I share my world here with Michelle, and her and I have been sharing for a dozen years or more. And so I was more worried about becoming claustrophobic because we're with each other 24 hours a day. And so what I have done is I focused on doing those things that I needed to do that I've been putting off, like I have 1,000 photographs and I've started going through them, and let me tell you, they bring up a lot of emotions because there are photographs of times and places that I have heart pain around. So this has been actually a delightful time, and I'm sorry if loneliness is part of the problem for others. It certainly isn't in my experience. In fact, Michelle just came back. She's a marathoner, so she keeps up running 10 or 20 kilometers every day, and then in the afternoon, late afternoon, I walk. I live at Edmund Station, and I do the 3.3K walk to 22nd Street. And I used to take the train back, but now I walk back. I walk there and walk back. So it keeps me occupied and also gives me a little bit of space. I love the outdoors. I love the outdoors. I love the outdoors. And so I get to walk underneath the SkyTrain, and it's an amazing adventure, actually, because there's forest, there's flowers galore, just flowers just coming out, and the blackberry bushes are blossoming, and so this time has been a gift. Mind you, I always see the glass as half full, not half empty. So.
Okay, do you want to tag somebody?
Oh, tag. Adele. Did we do that already?
We started with Adele.
Okay, we'll go Luke. Your turn.
My turn. Okay. Isolation. Okay, so I usually work from home anyways, so not much has changed, except my house is cleaner now than before. Because with Zoom calls, everyone can see behind me.
Or you can put in a background like I did.
I don't try to show it.
That's a good strategy, actually. Yes.
I'd like to do that. Only I've been clicking around, but I haven't found out yet how to do that. So
it happened when I first signed in, when I first clicked the link.
Okay.
Before it asked you if you wanted to start the camera and start the microphone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to bounce over to Joel, isolation.
A couple of technical things. To change the virtual background, go down to the stop
There.
video icon down on the bottom.
Which one?
Beside the mute, there's a stop video or share video.
Oh, yeah.
And if you hit the little triangle pointing up,
Yeah.
Ah, there we are. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, what were you saying?
and then the other thing is, I've got my computer on mute.
I'm in Hawaii.
But if you
Love it.
Nice.
yeah, there you go.
That looks like my screensaver there, Adele.
Hello, welcome to my vacation. I'm in a.
Oh, it's great because the palm trees are actually waving.
That's very cool. Hey, I couldn't do that. My
look at
screensaver is
Lucas,
from Punta Uba on the Caribbean coast of Costa Rica. So I should put that on. It's nice.
Look what I've done here. Everyone's got
nice place. Yeah.
You redid your house.
The other thing to note is that if you do have your machine on mute and you want to chirp in and say something, space bar will quickly take it off of mute as you're holding the space bar.
Oh, really? Cool. Let me try. Well, that's cool. I'll try.
Now I'm not on mute right now.
Oh, that's weird. I'm flashing.
Take it right off. Beautiful. Thank you.
It's a great thing to know.
That's nice.
So I'm just gonna go off of mute then.
Oh yeah, Pat. Oh, I like. You got the Golden Gate Bridge there, hey Pat?
Yeah, but I don't know if you saw it, but
yes, I did.
It was flashing back and forth.
Yeah. It was kind of like a ghost image.
Okay, so I don't like that. I didn't know. It said at first it said something that I needed a green screen.
Yeah, it's probably looking for a stable color pattern behind you, and it likes green the best. To latch on to anything green and substitute it with the background image.
Right.
You've got a lot of pictures back there, so it's probably struggling to find a way to map all that out.
Right.
All those picture frames behind you are.
I've got a Mac. It's an older laptop. I don't know if that would have anything to do with it.
Yes, it does. Mine won't do it either.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mm.
All right.
So there you go.
Oh no, you're doing. Neil's doing some cool stuff there.
That's great, because I wouldn't have known that those two little, mountain peaks did any, what they did. I'm always worried about touching something with what I'm touching because it takes me to some other program or takes me into something else. So
I should have had the grass. It's got grass there, and I should have had the grass up when I.
Oh, this is weird.
Blowing grass, but this has lots of glass, and so the glass is bright, and it's not selecting.
It's not mapping the whole thing out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's okay. I'm happy camper. I noticed San Francisco with the Golden Gate Bridge there. Oh, one of my favorite places, Frisco. Yeah.
Okay, so now that brings us to seeing for kind of making a plan for next week. If there are any people who know now something that you want to bring to share, it's like a potluck. So what are you going to bring to the table? We know we're going to hear Sylvie's interview, and it's about 4 minutes.
It's about 10 minutes, actually.
2 minutes, okay.
Do you want it shorter?
Well, what we might have to do, we were thinking with stories that as we are listening to these, because we'll also be able to, I sent you a copy last week to hear it. It might be that when we have something that's longer than 5 minutes, we'll break it and we'll say, we'll present the next week. So that way, listeners, it's a little bit of a strain to continuously listen for 10 minutes. So maybe you could just put a break in your interview where you'll say, and now we're going to go, we'll hear more from whoever your guest was. We'll hear more from her in our next broadcast. So that way, you've got the whole material, but it can be serialized. Same thing with stories. Some people who have longer stories, we were thinking we could serialize the stories. There are some stories on the CBC radio has some stories, and some of those stories are stretch over 3 or 4 episodes. So those are things that we can look at doing as well.
So time to look at the YouTube, how to edit video on Zoom video. I have a question though.
No, but you don't have to, because we have professional editors. You don't have to worry about editing. It's just in your interview, you could come to a point where you would say, and now I'm trying to think of something that's hokey, but just there would be an ending, a point where you would say, next week we'll hear more from this. So it was wonderful hearing about her attitudes, your blah, 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 blah. And next week we'll hear the rest. Well, you would continue talking with her, but it's just a place that when the editing or taking the recording, we could put that part in one and put the other part into the next week's.
Okay, and I have a not connected question. I've received an invitation from Zoom they have classes Monday to Friday. Do you know their tutorials? And I understood from what I read, they were one-on-one. Do they charge me for that? I mean, is there a cost?
No, they're not free. I took them kind of like last year when I was starting with Zoom, and they were free. They also have some that are just banked. It's better listening to theirs, I think, than some of the YouTubes that other people have made about
exactly,
Zoom.
yes.
But no,
yes.
They don't charge you for it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
What each of you will have an opportunity to do is set up your own Zoom account where you interview people so that you've got information that you can, we can upload, or we'll be able to find out how to play within our program.
So I have a question going back to what Sylvie was saying and what you were saying to her. So she has her whole interview recorded, so in Zoom. So does this piece about her saying, so next week we will hear, or next step we will hear the rest of the episode, does that have to be spliced in? How does that?
You don't have to worry about splicing it in. Luke, could you answer what would happen with that?
Yeah, I mean, it would be easier if you've already have it recorded as audio, to just email it to our email, and then next week we'll find a way to queue it up, and then we can just splice it in. Probably it'll happen on my screen. I'll just splice it right into the mix here.
Yeah, so it does actually have to be spliced in.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, and I was a bit puzzling on whether or not that was the way to do it, because she already has the interview recorded on video, and so she can't, unless she redoes the whole thing, she can't go back to the person and say, okay, let's do this again, so that in 4 minutes I can say, okay, we'll hear the next piece next week.
No,
Hey
what
guys,
I did,
actually splice that in.
Hey guys, I have to head out, but it was nice to hear you guys, and I'll see you again next week.
It's so nice to see you, Adele.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Yeah, nice seeing you.
Nice to meet you.
I'll see you at 3 o'clock, Charlotte.
okay, and can you tell again, so if people want to watch your film on YouTube, the name of your film?
It's called Who Am I?
Who am I? Okay.
And then with my name. Do you see my name right here?
Yeah, Adele. Yeah.
Yeah, if you look that up, if you put that beside it, you'll find the film.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. Talk with you later.
So, Charlotte,
Yes.
for next week, I do have a short poem, and it would take about maybe 2 minutes to read.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Leslie and Neil.
Yeah, I've got a couple of poems that I've written during my quarantine experience, which maybe 2 minutes each, so 4 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I have a short story that I wrote for 24-hour writing contest. They gave me the information of the outline on Saturday morning, and
Oh, cool.
it had to be delivered by Sunday morning. So it's like probably 6 minutes, 5 minutes. It's 870 words, so a short story.
Okay, that's great. And then we will have possibly another interview. Who's working on the interview with the music teacher? I think that
Was it
is-
Alice?
Yes, it's Alice.
Yes.
Has anyone spoken with Alice?
I emailed her, but I haven't heard from her, so I don't know.
Mhm. I think that, this, just like you got that call, a wellness call, I'm going to be talking with Mariko about how we can contact some of the people who just have a phone number. Or we also know that about only 20% of the whole membership of 411 actually looks at their email. So we're going to be asking you, if you know someone else within the group, if you know their phone number, you could explain to them how to get onto the Zoom call. Or you could tell them, if we have the email, to look for an email from PBA AFC, and that it's not spam or junk, that it's us trying to contact them to invite them to a call.
Yeah, Century House has actually got this program that they've started up of sort of wellness phone calls. I don't have too much information about it, but there is a new Facebook page that started up called New Westminster Helping Hands, and there's information on there. And it's about wellness phone calls to seniors, people volunteering to be part of that phoning network. So you might want to contact Century House and see how they've organized that.
Well, I'm just thinking within our group, because we do have some people email me 6 times a day, but how some of you who are in contact with other people, because we have 5 different groups, 5 or 6 different groups. So if you call even one other person that's within your organization and tell them about what we're doing, and that if they need help getting Zoom, it always helps if people will set up Zoom on their phone or on their computer ahead of time, because when they get the meeting notice, all they have to do is open Zoom and click the meeting link. So,
Sounds like
Oh, yeah. Whoops.
timer.
I have one question. So
Yes.
actually, we are talking about, Zoom by phone too. So I'm wondering, phone is meaning that smartphone, or, if somebody has just home phone, is it available? Okay, from home phone too.
Or I don't know. This is what New Westminster's doing. It's a telephone network, and I guess it's for people that don't have computers or are scared of Zoom or are scared of any kind of video messenger. I mean, everybody has a phone, whether it's a smartphone or a landline, right?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
I think this is part of what's been funded by the United Way, because the call I had earlier was from a volunteer from Britannia who are doing exactly the same thing.
Okay.
So it might be, depending on where your community center is, there might be someone connected to that's actually making these phone calls on a weekly basis, if that's what you want.
Yeah, they're sort of asking, they've asked for volunteers to take part in this, so they're trying to actually widen the network, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, 411 too, and we have friendly call service, and and we have 12 volunteers to call the members who don't use internet or emails, because these are the people who have isolation.
Right.
Yes. So we have this service too, but if we can how can I say it, connect with Zoom by landline, it is
What you can do, Mariko, is you can connect by conference call. You can set up a conference call system, because I belong to a group and we're all on conference calls every Friday evening to chit chat. And that would be so cool, because you can get groups of people talking with
Okay.
one volunteer, and they could talk to each other, because we know a lot. Like, I'm thinking of my Mexican train buddies, like, yeah, you see,
Okay,
that would be a
also,
lot of fun to have chit
yes,
chats going on between
yes,
3 or
yes,
4
great.
people.
Thank you. So,
But
But can
conference
chit
call,
chats
yeah.
be recorded? Because if we're thinking, I mean, it's two separate things. One is just making the contact with people, but for our podcast, things that we're recording so that we will be able to post them as podcasts,
Yeah.
I'm not sure that it works on a home line. And the conference calls, some conference calls do record.
Yeah.
So 1-800 conference call, but people, it depends on your phone system whether or not you can record, or I don't know about recording if we were able to use those. But I was specifically asking you though if you would contact somebody else that's within your organization and ask them, tell them about this Zoom call that we're doing at 1:00 on Thursdays, and to look at their email, because the chances are there's only 5 people out of the 44 that we don't have an email address for, but the people either aren't opening their email or responding. So an encouragement from you would help them to know, oh, it's not, it's not a crank call, or it's something that's worth participating in.
Yeah.
Can I make a suggestion? One of the things that I'm noticing is that the place where the person is talking, one of the things that's making a difference for me is where you are in relationship to windows. Because the light is coming in and it's making a real difference to the visibility of your face. So I'd just ask you to think about that, about where your computer is placed, or if you can put something in front of the window that's going to stop the light, because I think that will make a big difference. Because even with, Leslie, even with your background, I can still see the light from the window shining on your face.
Yeah, I've got my drape open. I should shut that.
Yeah.
I know when I teach online, I actually put a light on
There you are.
as well.
Yeah. So I'm just bringing that up because it does make a difference in terms of visibility, in terms
And glare is bad. Yeah.
Chris, I appreciate your comment, because I noticed that it has been, but this place is all windows, and so, but I have one little corner where I can go that I can cut out the windows, so I'll be at a different location next week.
Or you could just close your drapes. See, my drapes are wide open right now.
No, this place is all
And
windows.
Mariko, your background is very bright too.
Even though the curtains are drawn on my left-hand side here, they're still shining through, because hey, there are 10-foot high windows on every.
Oh, that's better. Yeah.
Yeah, but see what I did though? I turned my lamp on. It's now shining on my face. It made a difference, right?
And all I did is move my computer, and I'm clear.
Yeah.
Now, when around the image, when we're just talking to each other, it's not so much a big issue, because we kind of know what each other look like. We're not really Zooming with the intention of showing the visuals, but it does bring a question that Luke asked me, and that we would have to get permission from the people that are on. Our vocal recordings that are put on the podcast go also onto YouTube, but on the vocal recording only, what YouTube does is bring up the words. We could, because Zoom also produces a video image. That video image we right now have said that we weren't putting onto YouTube, but we need to ask your permission and know what your thoughts are about the visuals of our recordings being aired anywhere.
I've got a question. All those people who have not been enjoying Zoom, for our little performances, they will eventually be broadcast on SFU radio, because I know most people have radios that they listen to. So.
Oh yeah, well, we have two answers to that, because before our initial plan was once a month that I was going to give up a half an hour of my Speak Up show for a show with presentations from people within our group, so that we have something that would be once a month that would be on the radio, and then the other place would be through all of the places that podcasts are heard. Luke, you can tell them about where they get posted.
Sorry, where what gets posted?
Our recording of our podcast.
Oh, a recording. So like our session, like we're doing right now?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't posted those yet, but those, we can post those to Spotify or Apple Podcasts, any of the podcast platforms that we normally publish to. We can definitely post the audio of these sessions.
Right. So we're looking toward just seeing whether if we post it, if we do these as a reality show, we're not editing it. But last year, the ones that we had, there was a lot of worry around kind of time and putting together topics of a similar type and holding them until, they were all released at once. One of the things that at each of the places that we went, people said that they wanted to be able to tell their friends it's going to be on Tuesday at whatever time. So we're just looking right now on whether it would be the Saturday after or the Monday after we have our Thursday meeting, that it would be posted to those podcast locations. The podcasts from last year were also posted to the 411 site. We will possibly have a PBA AFC website. That's one of the things we're working on, if it'll have a separate site or if it will just be posted on the 411 site. Now, when people go to the 411 site, they go to Powered by Age and they can hear all the podcasts that were recorded last year. We will have a similar thing, and it's just, we don't know at this point whether they'll be posted on the 411 or whether there'll be a new website just for our group. And then it's posted to Anchor. And so when it says you can hear it at all the places that you typically hear. So when Luke posted onto that place, then you can tell your friends, our podcast comes out every Saturday or it comes out every Monday. So during the rest of the time, because once it's put onto a platform, it stays there. So if people keep going back during the week, they would hear the one from the previous week, and then it would just move up where each week there would be a different one. And anyone that becomes a follower, this was a question that the people at the West Side really ask us: how can, if we if somebody's looking for something on housing or on isolation, how would they find it? So we're looking at how we will hashtag, and we might have some of you that help with hashtagging. When you listen to a podcast, then hashtags is what makes things have a presence. It shows up in the little spiders that Google has. And so if somebody's looking for something on that topic, it will bring them to that particular podcast. So those are some things that we're working on doing with with each week, and it'll get better and better because each week we'll have more things that people have planned to put in, and we'll have the reaction time. So anyone that's listening will also see the evolution of this group from how we're learning to do different things to how we are using it to connect the dots, have more activities, have things that feature things that people might have once had to wait to do at a class at 411, that they can do it through our podcast. So, it might be a spinoff that we have the basic podcast, but then there's a podcast on decorating walls, and they could go to that. But that's the direction we're going in.
Yeah, just one little bit of housekeeping. If anyone wants to join this meeting that we're in right now and they only have a home phone, there is a call-in number that they can call into.
Oh, yeah.
So we're not limited to just people with computers and tablets and that kind of stuff. We can have.
Yeah.
And the other point is, I know with 411 we're working on a paper printed kind of newsletter.
Yes.
that we're going to send out to people that don't have internet at home. So if anyone has any stories or poems or content that they wanted to share on there, that's definitely something that we can put in.
Yeah.
And it can even
Where would they send that? Would they email it to? How would they send it?
They could just send it. They could send it to me or you for now until we get that kind of streamlined. And even the content that you send, if you have it written out as text, it could be the same content that you're reading as part of this series as well, right? Just as an idea.
Yeah, that's great. The poems that you have, you probably already do have it as a Word document, so you would just send it as an attachment in an email. Put in the message poems by or stories by, so that we know what it'll make it easy to put them together if you put that in the subject of your email.
Yeah.
Well, sports fans, I think I'm going to unplug and
Me too.
thank you so very much. Mika, is it? Sayonara. And
Sayonara.
Joel, it was a pleasure to, you're the one I met first on this thing, and I wondered, Jesus, did I get into the wrong internet, the wrong
He was killing me. He was like, "Who's this guy showing up?" And I was like,
right. But when you mentioned Charlotte, I said, good, I found home space. So thank you, folks. Leslie, thank you for the work that we're doing with the poem short story. And hey.
Oh, we'll be in touch.
So maybe we can hear a little bit of that too next week.
That's quite a long project, isn't it, Neil? I don't know how long it would take to read the whole thing.
I think it's yeah, probably. But I have a 5-minute short story that I'd like to bring. And in fact, Leslie, I think, has read it. The Bluebells Grow Wild in Texas. No?
No, I haven't read that one. No.
I thought I sent it to you.
You sent me one, the detective story that I'm halfway through reading, but I'm finding I've got a lot of reading and a lot of writing, and if I read, I don't get to write, and if I write, I don't get to read. So it's that balancing act.
Oh, that's the 3-hour story.
I know.
So
and then
Chris,
there are other things.
Chris, do you want to do
I
yours?
was wondering for Pat, if you and I could find something that we've written out of our new book, out of our new anthology, and maybe have something selected for next week.
Yeah, we could do that. I mean, I did do it last time, so if you want to just do it on your own, that's fine too. But yeah.
I think the story that you read was really great. How do you feel about sharing the one that you read when you had recorded it in your phone?
Who are you talking to me?
Chris.
Oh.
Yeah.
You gotta unplug. Chris, you gotta unmute.
There you go.
Okay. Yes, I could read that again.
Okay.
I could maybe find another story in the book, not mine, but somebody else's, something short that I could read too. If depending on the time, it sounds like there's a lot of people wanting to read though. So
yeah, that would be pretty full. So maybe in the next week afterwards. Okay, well, thank all of you. It was wonderful seeing and hearing you, and we will continue on, powered by age, braving and to create an age-friendly city through our words and actions.
But thank you, Charlotte. It's actually a lot easier for me to come here on Zoom than it is to get down to the 411 Center because I'm very new Westminster focused. So yeah, so this is great. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye. See you next week.